want to do is first off, welcome everyone. It is Friday. We're getting ready to really dive deep into fourth quarter. This week was pretty exciting for us. Big shipment came in. I want to talk about that. I also want to talk about the contest that we just did for our new brand, talk some numbers there. I think the last I checked, we were just under 6,000 emails. We'll talk about that. How we did it, what we plan on doing now moving forward, talk a little bit of fourth quarter stuff. I also want to talk a little bit about, how when you launch products, you're not necessarily going to always pick winners. It's not always going to happen. And for the most part, it probably, in most cases, won't be your first, second, or maybe even third product. It takes time. And I want to talk a little bit about that because the new brand, we launched a product and we sold some, we sold some for sure. But we kind of knew that was the easier one to launch in this space. And we just wanted to get launched. And we did. And we made some money. We are right now at this point, I think we're down to about 100 units left. We're going to liquidate those, just kind of get rid of them. Probably not even like liquidating where we have to blow them out at like cost. We can probably still charge over cost and still get out from under them. Like I said, it's only 100. But what I did want to talk about, Chris, is like, if we launched with that first product and we were banking on that being like a home run, we never would have moved on and we never would have gotten to the screenshot that I shared, or actually the actual picture that I shot in one of our warehouses this past week of me in front of about 3,000 units. And I've been
laughing at that picture since you sent it to me.
Yeah, you said, Scott, it looks like you're being swallowed up by boxes, and I was. The other thing, Chris, I'd like to talk a little bit about Pucker Butt. Did you see that? Did you see that?
Pucker Butt, what was it, Pepper Company?
Yes, it is. It's a great name, and I think if someone wants to kind of like understand like good branding, I think they nailed it. Hey, I'm going to meet you on over to Pucker Butt. Let's meet at 5.
I think that's a great example of branding. Not to derail you from where you are, but a lot of branding is like creating a position, right?
Yeah.
Pucker Butt. There's a lot of people who would never go into Pucker Butt just because of what it's called. But if you are a pepper enthusiast,
yeah, you
know what that means, and
they're
calling out to you directly. So I think that was a really cool photo that you shared this week.
Yeah, it was funny. We were out going. We were walking downtown in one of our towns here. I was with my oldest daughter who's visiting, and we were showing her around a little bit. And I didn't even realize that was there. And my wife's like, "Oh, look at Pucker Butt." And I'm like, "That's amazing. That's a great name." So then she started reading into it, and actually, the guy that started that has one of the world's hottest peppers that he grows right here, and it was in Guinness World Records.
Is he the Carolina Reaper guy?
Yes, he is.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just happen to know that that's a
I was going to say, how do you know that fact? The Carolina Reaper.
So our accountant is a hot sauce and pepper enthusiast. And so every year for Christmas, my team gets him some, like the weird hot sauce that you find at different places.
Right.
There's a hot sauce down here that's white.
Okay.
It's clear, and then you shake it and it changes color. I mean, like those kinds of things. And so I know a little bit about it just from some of the weird stuff that we got over the years. But
all right, well, let's move on and let's get away from Pucker Butt here for a minute. I love saying Pucker Butt. It just sounds so fun.
Just rolls off the tongue.
It just rolls off the tongue. It's very, very clever. I liked it. So let's just dig in. What I do want to also just say before we jump into this here today. Oh, and Dom isn't going to be with us today, I don't think. I mean, he hasn't. I know that he's doing a lot with his warehouse. Actually, I seen a bunch of pictures, Chris, from his. He converted the one part of his warehouse into like a retail location that is all up with like gaming and like videos and like Blu-ray. Like he's got like it's like legit. Like he's got like it looks like you're walking into what's the one, GameStop, where they have like used games and stuff. It looks like that. Like it's legit. So he's been busy getting ready for fourth quarter. He got 2 Mario Brother blow-ups. They're like 7 foot tall out front. Oh, it's awesome. Yeah, it's so cool. So he's probably busy with that, I know. So anyway, if he jumps in, we'll get him in. But if you guys have any questions, put them in the comments. We'll go ahead and answer any questions you guys have here. We're going to probably stay on for about 30, 40 minutes today. Again, like I said, my daughter's in town. I'm going to try to, get done here, and then we're going to do a couple things. We got to head out to dinner and stuff like that. So I'm trying to do exactly what I preach that we need to do, and that is like create your own schedule, and that's exactly what we're doing here. So Chris, let's talk a little bit about the contest. We just ended today, right? Yeah.
Yeah, about an hour ago, actually, and I know if I can do math, I think it was right around noon Eastern. So I guess that'd be 2 hours ago. I'm looking at my clock. It's 1 o'clock my time because I don't live on the East Coast.
That's right, you don't.
2 hours ago, I guess we finally ended. And we gave a little bit of an update last week. We were right around like 13, 14 cents an email. We had a couple thousand already. So I wanted to give everybody a quick update on that. As of right now, we collected 5,805. So 5,805 email addresses, including all of the ad spend that we did and the prizes. And a big portion of what we're giving away at this point is actually our own products in that brand, because we have several SKUs. So the cost on that came down. So for an over $200 value in that, it cost us right around $100 there. So I think we just did the math, Scott, and it was like 15.5 cents.
Yes.
So let's round up. Let's go wild. Let's call it 16 cents an email address for almost 5,000 or almost 6,000 new emails added to that list. Now, yes, some of those people are going to unsubscribe. But even if half of them unsubscribed, we'd have paid 30 cents an email, 32 cents an email address, right? And we know just from previous contests that we'll get, maybe 10, 15% on the really, really high end of those people to unsubscribe. So we added a good chunk to our email list, and we're going to be advertising and continuing to email them in the way that we've talked about. And I know that we have some podcasts coming out in the next few weeks on exactly how we're communicating with those lists, so you guys can get a better understanding of that as well. We recorded one this week that I think you guys will enjoy tremendously. But Scott, actually a question that I had for you that I was going to ask you on Skype, but I know you're kind of in and out this week, so I'm just going to ask you right now. What are we actually going to do to follow up with these guys? Because we originally had a product that was coming in, and this is a question that we get asked all the time. So I'm curious if we can just talk it through for everybody. We don't have the product that we were going to launch on the back end of this. We have some other products. We have some other SKUs. Have you given any thought at this point to, are we just going to continue to drip out content to them? Do we want to actually make them an offer? What do we actually want to do on the back end here?
Yeah, I think honestly what we should probably do is we should announce the winner. Like we say, we have like three emails when they get the thank you email, then we kind of remind them about the contest, and then from there we go ahead and we announce the winner. Once we announce the winner and the winner has responded back to us, I say we then send an email saying how excited we are to announce the winner, and then we would say, and oh, by the way, you're still a winner to us. We're going to give you, I don't know, we can talk that through, but probably like a 20%, maybe we can do like a nice little discount for maybe 2 days. And I would say that,
I guess the question for me was, is it do we want to use one of the products that doesn't sell as well? Do we want to push the big seller that we're going to talk about here in a little bit? What do we want to do there?
Yeah, I think there's probably, I would say that we would probably do one that is maybe a little bit of a slower mover. And I think we both know what one that is. We can also liquidate. If we want to get rid of those 100 units, we can also put a little offer there. We can actually include 2 products if we want to. Or, I don't know, Chris, we could even just give a discount to our store page, and it could be on any one item. We can do that, right?
Yeah, we would have to. So the way that works, and it, Heather just said, I'm still waiting on an It Depends t-shirt. Yeah, we would have to include all of the ASINs. And so if you want to create kind of a catalog-wide coupon, you can absolutely do that. But if they added in multiple ASINs, they would get 20% off everything. The other conversation that you and I need to have at some point, and we don't need to have it today because we got some stuff we want to talk through, is what we're going to do, what specifically we're going to do for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, if anything. So, to me, I think I like the idea of the 20% off everything, but I also like the idea of just trying to blow through, 10, 15% off of the slower mover, the thing we're trying to get rid of. Now, I did not tell you this, but we actually ran a test yesterday in the external sales channel that we're building outside of Amazon. So that's something we'll have to kind of talk about. And it went successfully through. It fulfilled through Amazon, and everything's looking good there. So those pages are getting built out. So if we want to do something with that in the next few weeks, we can do that too.
Well, I think we've talked about this, and I think that, you know, again, something that we want to do is, as we're leading up to Black Friday, and then after Black Friday, is we want to have like the 10-day or 12 days till Christmas, or, you know, something like that, where every day we can send them a new email. So this way here, we're not technically bombarding them, but we are kind of like saying like, hey guys, it's, you know, 11 days till Christmas, you know, but it's not necessarily 11 days till Christmas. It's kind of like we're doing that as a sale to kind of build up to, you know, getting your gifts and all that stuff purchased. So we're definitely gonna have to talk about that probably next week, and get that stuff built out and kind of like what we want to do with that. The other question is, Chris, like, you know, we just got like 3,000 units in, and you know, those 3,000 units, just to let people know, like, we're actually over the $10 profit on those. We're about 11, maybe even $11.50, because those came by sea. We actually saved almost $1 a piece. So because of that, that's about $30,000 profit. Okay, and the one thing I want people to understand here, and this is probably a good segue into this, Chris, is that, you know, we launched. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. It wasn't until I think the 5th SKU, which is this product, that is actually the one that has become the winner. Now, there's 2 other ones that are a close second that they have some really good legs. I think yesterday, our second bestseller actually was the bestseller. So we've got a couple going neck and neck, which is great, but you know, the one product now that's doing really well, and a lot of people ask Chris, like, you know, like, when do you pull profit? Okay. Well, what we've been doing is we've been taking a product that's been selling, bringing in a profit. We're taking that profit and we launch another product. So basically, the one really good selling product has been funding these other products. Now we're at the point where pretty much most of our inventory is paid for. And now and that's why people say, well, Scott, how do you see that as profit right now that you have, you know, 3,000 units in inventory? Well, number one, they're paid for. And number two, once they sell, we're going to get all that money back from Amazon's going to pay us, and we're going to pull out what we paid for the product, pay out any fees, and we're still going to be left with $10. So if we're left with $10, do the math. You know, I'm not that smart, but I can do the math on that. That's $30,000 in profit for that one SKU. So to me, Chris, like, it doesn't matter when we sell those units. Like, I don't want to like hold off on them. And Dom's always said this too. Like, why am I going to wait, or why am I going to drip it out just so, you know, you don't run out of inventory? I get it. But in the end, by the end of 4th quarter, or by, let's say, December 17th, we want to go through all of those units if we can. So that may be something that we say, well, you know, let's push people to that product because we know people really want that product, because in the end, we want to be able to get our $30,000 profit. Now, again, guys, that's only one SKU. We also have another 1,500 in transit right now. They're just about ready to be released. And then as soon as those get released, we'll be ordering another 1,500. And the reason why we did 3,000 is because of 4th quarter. Now we're starting to we're kind of using like 1,500 as like our normal order. So with that all being said, you know, I just want people to understand that, you know, if we stopped after the 1st or 2nd product, we never would have hit the 5th product or the 6th product, or even the 4th product that's doing pretty good. I think that one, Chris, yesterday, I think I looked with all the variations, we were over 20 a day on that one.
That's kind of the thing. You know, it's not that these first products necessarily failed. They were bunts or singles. It's just when we got to the 4th and 5th products, one, like, we kind of knew those first 2 products were going to sell really well, and then they were going to get competitive because they were really easy to duplicate.
Yep.
That's the reason we launched them, is because we wanted to get something up. We needed something to offer in this market, and so we did that. Then we moved into the more traditional way that you and I talk about finding products, which is the 10 by 10 by 1 method. And we said, look, this is going to sell for us consistently. We know it's going to be a little bit harder to source. It's not nearly as competitive. It's not as easy to get. And so we're selling, and those are selling actually even better than we expected them to, right? Which is kind of what we're excited about. Products 1 and 2, and I don't even remember the order that they launched in, but products 1 and 2 kind of, they're still trucking along. They still make a couple sales a day, but we knew they weren't going to be a 20, 30, 40 unit a day seller. It was something that we ordered and we got just to have a product. And we knew it was something that people who were interested in the other products that we were going to eventually source would be interested in.
Yeah, it was easy. It was an easy thing, but we knew that it was going to probably be saturated because it's easy to get. But we just wanted to get started. We wanted to get our feet wet, and that's what we did. But now moving forward, we're like, we're probably just going to pull that, take our money that we can get back from that, and reinvest it into a new SKU.
And Scott, something that you just touched on, you said we haven't pulled a profit yet, and everybody always wants to know, can I become an FBA millionaire overnight? Like, is this a get rich quick thing? Like, how fast can I quit my job? Right? Like, they see the opportunity and they see these numbers. And the biggest struggle that a lot of people have is keeping up with that inventory, because the first time you place that order, you're spending $3,000. Then when you sell that, you get that back plus profit, right? But to order more product, you then have to spend $3,000 again. So I think the thing that's kind of interesting about this order, this big 3,000 unit order, is it's paid for before we sold any of it, right? So we're not putting out money, basically, right? It's basically like we didn't pay anything for it. They just showed up. Right. So imagine starting from scratch. If somebody handed you 3,000 units of inventory, that's basically the situation that we're in. Then anything that we sell out of this is going to pay for the next order, and there's profit on top of that if you sell through them. And we're going to sell through them. I know, like yesterday, I think we sold 17. One of the days this week, we sold 26 or 30. We're up about 15 or 20% over where we were this time in October. I think it was 21%. I looked at it this morning. We're 21% higher, and that's just going to get higher and higher as we get closer to the holidays. So we are going to sell through those, and we're flipping that, that first product. If we would have given up there, you would never have gotten to a place where you have $30,000 in pure profit, or $60,000 if you decided not to do anything with that extra 30 grand that you're going to get back. So it's one of those things where I think people need to understand that it takes time. We took the first sale in this brand, I want to say the last week in April, or the second to last week in April. So it's been 7 months, but we could have stopped at any point and pulled profit out. But now we're at a place where every order from here on out is going to be profit.
Right. And I think the hard thing, though, is for a lot of people, and I mean, let's face it, I mean, our partner, like there's always a new product you can launch. And as long as you keep launching products, that has to get funded from something. So you have to get to a point where you have other products that are going to help you launch other products until you can pull that profit. Because if you pull early, then you're going to be borrowing again or you're going to be strapped to keep that inventory. So it's a fine line. And I know I get a lot of people, they're like, Scott, I would love to have the problem of, running out of inventory and not being able to keep inventory. That will happen. And then that'll be a frustration. And then you'll be, upset about that. And right now you're upset because you can't get sales or you can't get enough sales. And it's like, there's always those little mini battles that you have to fight and you have to keep going after. But my point is, and that's what I wrote in my email today, was like 7 months ago, we wouldn't have known where we are, and we could have very easily just said, let's scrap this whole thing and just start something different. But we just kept going because we know that it works. It just takes constant action, right? It constant okay, this didn't work, let's do this. It's kind of like I always say, it's like being in the football game or the baseball game or anything, right? It's like readjusting your course. Or running a different play, or running a different, a different scenario, and that's really what it takes. But so many people think that it's going to be a one-hit wonder, like you're going to be able to go out there and just make it the minute you start something. I mean, how many times have you ever? I mean, let's take an instrument for example. Like you start playing guitar. I mean, I'm personally guilty of this. I started playing, I got frustrated. I'm like, I don't even want to play, and then I'll come back at it and I'll try it again, and then I'll get a little bit better. And then you get frustrated and I put it down. I don't come back for it for 2 days. Then I get another little bit of energy, right? It's like you have to keep coming back and getting better and refining and learning through that process. Like we learned so much in this brand in what products we want to go after, where we want to actually see ourselves in the future, like all of that stuff, because we're listening to the market now. We're also seeing what is possible. So I just want people to understand that, in anything, it doesn't matter what it is, you have to understand that you have to continue to press on, as we say, right? And keep moving forward and keep trying, or just, like setting up like a new product and then taking the other one and just learning from it, liquidating it. Like, as long as you do that right, you can't fail unless you stop.
Right. And I think it's interesting, you hear people toss around that failure is just the first attempt in learning, right? And if you continue to learn, you haven't failed. The only time you've ever failed is when you truly decide to give up. And if we had looked at this first product and said, oh, well, yeah, we sold 10 a day for the first few months, but we know that that's going to drop, and now it's only going to be, 2 or 3 a day of that product, we probably wouldn't have continued on. We wouldn't have gotten 4 and 5 and 6 and now like 7 and 8 SKUs. I don't even know how many SKUs we have, because there's so many in the pipeline right now that we're working on to launch, that it kind of muddies the water. But because we knew that up front, we knew kind of what could happen to that first product. We then also took that and said, okay, how do we hedge against them, right? How do we protect ourselves for when this inevitably happens? Mm-hmm. And in doing so, we found 2 products that sell amazingly well, and a third one that sells pretty close, right? To, I would call the third bestseller in there, Scott, that's probably a double, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, the bestseller is definitely a triple. And then you have two solid doubles and a couple singles, right? And we got a bunch of runners on base, and, we're not selling hundreds of units a day of anything, but that's actually a good thing, because even a day like Tuesday, Scott, where we sold out of all of our inventory, we had some coming in, we ended up with a hijacker, and thankfully they didn't actually sell anything. They left in about 8 hours after we sent them a cease and desist and all of the other hijacker stuff that we talk about. But we had basically a 12-hour window where that product wasn't listed for sale, because Amazon had been pre-selling all of the inventory that they were checking in. We got that hijacker, it kicked us out of the buy box, and then they stopped selling the inventory because they were waiting on the other box to come in or whatever. And so the other product still got us sales, and you texted me, you're like, man, sales are slow today. And I said, well, hang on, like, they're not bad. We're still selling a bunch of units. It's just not what we're used to, because we're missing 10 that we would have had otherwise. But if that product was the only product that was selling, we would have had a goose egg for the morning, and we would have had 2 or 3 in the afternoon. And instead, we still ended the day with 30 or 40 sales, right? Even though the top seller was missing for over half the day. So,
what day was that? Do you remember what day that was?
I want to say that was Tuesday.
Tuesday?
Or was it Wednesday?
It might have been Wednesday. I'm in here. Yeah, it had to be Wednesday. I mean, still, with Wednesday, we went from where we had 2 in a row, two days in a row doing 60 to 70 units, or, complete, throughout the brand. And then we had that day go at 37. So, and and that just because our one of our best sellers was out. But like you say, Chris, it's kind of like we diversified across these, and our goal really in this is to get to 100 units per day across multiple SKUs, not just one SKU. Right. That's the goal, and that's what we're striving for even after fourth quarter. I think fourth quarter, that's going to be easy. I think after the fact, it's just how do we get to 100 sales per day across the brand, whether that's 10 SKUs, 12 SKUs, whatever it is. Let's get that, and then from there, we're going to build that into a hopefully a 7-figure business.
I think it's going to be great. You've gotten 2 compliments, Scott, on your shirt.
Oh yeah, isn't that nice? It's actually from ConvertKit. Nathan Barry from ConvertKit, met him at FinCon, and went to his booth and introduced myself because we hadn't officially met. Told him I was a big fan of the software. Told him that we also recommend his software, and he had a couple shirts there. He goes, "Hey, you want some swag?" I'd love some swag. I'm all about swag. So I like it too. Cool.
Doug says 350 episodes into your podcast, watch 2 different workshops, #take action, looking into retail ARB so I can earn that extra cash to launch my first product. Keep up the great work. Keep up the great work, Doug. Keep us up to date on what happens with you. I know if you're doing retail arb this time of year, it can be a lot of fun. You can put a lot of big numbers up on the board. We saw that last year with a lot of the people in the TAS community that are doing retail arb. And this is a great example, Scott, of somebody who is taking action, right? Because Doug doesn't necessarily have the resources to launch his first product, but he found a way. And he found a way because his why is big enough and he believes that this is the vehicle that's going to take him there. So he decided to do retail arb to build up that war chest so that he's able to launch that product. So Doug, that rocks. Robin wanted to know, Scott, I'm trying to liquidate my product and it's just not selling. What would you recommend somebody does if they're trying to liquidate that first product?
Well, first off, have we lowered our price to where it's a break even? After you pay fees, after you pay for the product cost, and you're just going to basically just get your money back. Are we there right now? Like, that's the first question. If we are, then the next thing is we have to say, okay, then maybe what we do is we increase it by $1 and then we turn on pay-per-click and we try to drive it that way. So that's another way. Or I'd go to a deal site. And maybe if you want to, then if you're going to offer a discount on it, then just have your price be normal, give a 50% off discount, and then you can liquidate it that way. That would be my attempt.
I would say the same thing. Lucas wants to know, what are we using for Facebook Live? The video quality looks great. We're actually using a platform called BeLive, and having a decent camera and a decent light goes a long way to helping video quality for any of these types of platforms. Heather Pearson says, are you guys getting sales in this new brand because you have several products in the same area? The answer is yes and no, or it depends, right? Yeah. We get a handful of sales a day that are multiple unit orders. I looked so far for this month, and our average units per order is 1.05, right? Okay. So there's a handful in there where people are ordering multiple products, but the vast majority of people, at least up front, are only ordering one unit at a time. Now, we downloaded our customer data and I looked at it, and there are a bunch of people who have come back time and time and time again. And we know this because they tell us in the emails that we send out as well, to buy every product that we launch. So even if they don't buy them at the same time, because they're interested in the space, they're going to buy them as soon as they have the need for them. Some of them aren't going to appeal to everybody up front, but as they get deeper into the need, they're going to go for those products as well. So I'm trying to think of an example that would work really well there. I guess fishing would probably work really well. When you're first getting into fishing, you don't need all of the lures, right? You need one lure. But after you start fishing, if you are tired of catching trout, you want to catch some bass, you're going to change your bait, right? And so in the new brand, we have some things for people that are beginners. We have some things for people who are advanced. And as they work their way from beginner to advanced, they're going to buy different products. And we see that time and time again. So even if they're not cross promoting each other as often as we would like, they are over the long term. Does that make sense, Scott? Mm-hmm. And one of the reasons we are playing with some of the outside of Amazon stuff is we have a little bit more control over cart size. In some of there's some things we can do to say, okay, if you bought this, you probably really want to buy this. But because Amazon doesn't tell us what individual people bought, Amazon does a little bit of that, but they also will show our competitors' products for those things. So if we have control over that, then we can say, okay, well, if you bought this, here's a piece of content that you'll really like. And oh, by the way, if you like this, you should probably get this too, because here's all the cool things. Here's all the cool different kinds of fish that you could catch if you had this piece of lure too. Guillermo wants to know, is anybody taking advantage of the 11/11 sale on AliExpress as a means to try out new products? Guillermo, I think this is great. AliExpress is a great way to try new products and see kind of what works with your market. And you've heard us talk in the past about the $500 challenge and using AliExpress to source. Something like the 11/11 sale, which is a big sale in China, is going to be a cool way to grab those at a reduced price. So if you already are considering doing a test through AliExpress, take a look at it. It should go live, I think, midnight China time on the 11th. So take a look at that. Guillermo, if you know exactly when that starts on AliExpress or 1688.com, any of those kinds of places that are doing that, let us know in the comments. But I think it starts at midnight China time. So if you're considering sourcing something through AliExpress just as a test, take a look at it over the next few days and see if the pricing has changed for you, because it might actually be more affordable to launch it. Carl wants to know, this is an auto. No, Carl, if you're watching this at 2:30 Eastern, this is live. Jorge Hernandez wants to know, any resources for outsourcing email marketing or creating that email sequence? Honestly, there's a lot of people that can write emails for you, but it doesn't take that much work. I would, at the very least, do the first set of them yourself, right? And we talk about when we send emails to our list, we like to send at least one a week. If you wrote 20 of them, right, you could sit down and in 2 or 3 hours using the method that we talk about, you could write 15 or 20 of them. You'd be covered for 5 or 6 months, right? And then at that point, you can decide if you're okay with doing, 2 or 3 hours worth of that every 6 months, or if you really want to outsource it. But off the top of my head, I don't have any resources for people who would write emails for you. It is a fairly straightforward process. And if you look at the templates that we kind of use for a lot of this stuff, you'll get the idea of it very quickly. And then you can just hammer a bunch of them out. Scott, I don't know if you have anybody that you know that does email copy.
I really don't. I mean, if that was the case, you'd probably have to go to like Upwork or something like that and hire a copywriter that would be willing to put that through. But I think, like Chris said, I think you can do it. Actually, Chris, I think it's going to be next week. I'm going to look at the exact date here. I think next week we did a podcast episode that's going to be airing, I think, on Wednesday. Let me look here real quick while we're here live, and I can let you guys know. Yeah, it'll be next Wednesday, the 15th. There's a podcast episode that's going to be going live, and it's we titled it "How to Sell Products to Your Email List Without Being Sleazy," and we're going to give you guys some swipe copy as well. And we kind of go through, like what we do, what we recommend, also talking about the opens, the clicks, like all of that stuff. So that's going to be a great episode. So definitely look out for that one. And you know what? Right now, I think would be a good time to do this, Chris. It just came to my head, so I got to actually throw it out there. I don't really say this much on the podcast, and I don't do it as much as I probably should here. If you guys are podcast listeners, which I think a lot of you are, do me a favor and subscribe to the podcast. Because you will get notifications when it goes live. It will also help us tell iTunes that you guys are listeners, and that'll help us, reach more people. So if you guys would do that, that would be awesome. So just subscribe in iTunes, and just that way there you'll be notified. And like I said, like on that one right there, that's going to be a good one. We've got a bunch of cool things lined up too. Next week, Chris and I are going to be hunkering down here. We've got a nice little series we're putting together to really kind of take people through the entire process, kind of like we do on our workshops. We're going to be doing it in an audio form. That will be on the podcast as well. And I got some really cool guests coming up as well. So yeah, super excited about fourth quarter for everything. Man, there's a lot of things to be excited about.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, and it's funny. I was just talking to our buddy Joel, and I said, "Man, like we're busier than we normally are, but it doesn't feel like it because everything's moving fairly smoothly right now, and I'm just waiting for something to explode."
And that may happen.
Having things not stress me out stresses me out, and I don't know why that is. I blame my mother for that. It's a family trait, right? If I have nothing to worry about, I'm worried that I'm not worried. But it's one of those things, like we have so many moving pieces right now, and it, at least right now, feels like everything is going pretty well. Guillermo said, I just checked AliExpress. The 11/11 sale starts in 12 and a half hours, which is fantastic.
Cool.
Samora wanted to know, are the Q4 deadlines very strict for sellers to send in inventory? There are no Q4 deadlines, right? Amazon put out guidelines for when stuff should be in, but there's no deadline. You can continue to send in inventory as much as you want.
Right.
But basically, they put out a calendar of dates to say if it's in by this point, it'll be available for sale at this point, right? So if you want it in by Black Friday, you need it in, and you should probably send it in this week if you want to check it in by Black Friday. If you want it in before, the selling period for Christmas, which basically ends the 23rd because stuff ships on the 24th, which would be Christmas Eve, then you need it in, no later than the 17th or whatever that is. And so they put out a couple of guidelines, but there are no like hard and fast deadlines. Last year, Amazon did restrict new sellers from sending in inventory, but outside of some of the category specific stuff like in toys and games, Scott, I haven't seen any of that this year. Have you? I haven't.
And I haven't even heard, like last year, remember where they basically said, I think last year wasn't it like November 1st or beginning
October 15th.
Is that when it was? Wow. Yeah, that was a big headline last year. This year I don't hear it. So they must either have built bigger warehouses and allowed more in, or they just haven't done it yet. So I don't know. But yeah, I mean, you still have time, to get that in. And I know this is the other question we get a lot too, Chris, is like, well, what if I can't get in for fourth quarter? Should I still do this? Yeah, you should actually. You should get started like right now. You should go through everything that we talk about, like, the product research and then the sourcing. Like, you can still do all that stuff and just, forget about fourth quarter right now. Like, fourth quarter to me is a bonus time. It's not a time that I'm banking on. It's just a bonus time. It's exciting. Don't get me wrong, but we started this, like Chris said, back in April, this one brand that we're working on that we're kind of mostly talking about. And, we weren't really thinking about fourth quarter necessarily, although we did in the back of our mind say, once we get this thing really rooted and we get some, some products in there that are doing decent and they're getting ranked, we're going to probably do okay. Like, we had that thought, but it wasn't our main goal. We just knew that it would kind of take care of itself. So just get out there and do it. I think this would be a good time too, Chris, to throw in there. A lot of people email me and they say, Scott, your workshops, I can't attend, different times, whatever. I want to let people know that we have this new thing, and we're calling it our on-demand workshops, where we actually took one of our best live workshops, the 5 phases, where we actually go through everything that we've actually went through with the new brand, and we kind of walk you through it in 5 phases. That can be found at theamazingseller.com/workshop now. And Chris, if you could maybe put that up on a link and let people see that. And that way there you can, yeah, that right there. You can basically you can register, and you can actually, I think you can do it every 15 minutes, or you can pick a date. So just go there, check it out. If you can't make our certain ones that we do live, which we have another one coming up next week that will be live. But that one there you can't even actually register for yet, right, Chris? That one there is going to be registering, I think, as of Monday. And we're going to be winding things down. So if you guys have not attended a workshop, definitely attend one. That's where we're going to walk you through it in like 90 minutes, compress everything, and get it all into a 90-minute block and really give you the structure. Because a lot of people are like, there's so many different things. Like, you have 400 episodes. Like, how do I focus? That's how you focus. We're going to break it down for you and chunk it down for you. Chris, let's maybe answer a couple more questions if you have any. If not, we can go ahead and maybe wrap things up.
I have 2 quick ones. The first was from Arif. He said, I'd like to make a removal order. Any idea? Arif, if you click on the inventory tab inside of your Seller Central account, you can click the little checkbox next to whatever product you want to issue a removal order for and check that little box. Then all you have to do is click on the actions menu in the top left, and it'll bring down a whole bunch of options. It'll say like change the fulfilled by merchant, issue fulfillment order, create a removal order is in that list. That's the easiest way to do it. You just click on the one you want and then click create a removal order, and you can do that. Cheyenne says, when starting your brand and going for a particular niche or niche, since Dom isn't with us, what's the best social media strategy to build your followers besides giveaways? I feel like I never have enough content to put up on Instagram. Would you start sharing similar things from other people in the niche? Any advice on getting involved in a loop giveaway or something like that with big brands to increase Instagram followers? So Scott, where would you suggest people find content? Because a lot of people struggle with thinking they need to create all of the content themselves. And this is a conversation we had with one of the brands that we're working with this week. I believe it was on Monday. And they've gone out, they've actually crushed a few different pieces of content this week. And some of it was their own, some of it was shared stuff. So is that kind of the mix that you would suggest to people? Is if you can't create it yourself, go find something that works and reshare it. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, that's the easiest way, right? It's like you need to be the reporter. So you need to take an hour right now and just go and do a ton of research in your space, in your market. Number one, the other thing is here, and this is a mistake I see a lot of people making, like, don't assume your market's there. Like, go find your market. Where are they hanging out? What social platform are they using? And then that's the one that you're going to focus on right now. The other thing I would say is, like, why wouldn't you do a giveaway to gain attention? Like, we've built a Facebook following in the new brand of over 10,000 now, Chris. And that has all been because we were running giveaways. And then we start to publish content and all of that stuff. So I'm not quite sure why you wouldn't do that. But I would say
the biggest concern that people have with that is, oh, well, it's just going to be people who want a freebie. And yeah, there's going to be some of that. But you're going to get that anywhere, right? Like, no matter what method you use to grow it, you're going to have some element of that. So you might as well have control over it. And like in the new brand, we have right around 10,000 people on the Facebook page. We have almost 16,000 people on the email list. We've done that all through giveaways. And guess what? We still get 30 or 40% open rates on a lot of the emails that we send out. Sometimes it's lower because junky subject line, or people just didn't see it because we sent it out at a weird time or something like that. But for the most part, the people who stick around after that are going to be there for a while. Right. And if you continue to put out good content, you have nothing to worry about. There is that market message match element to those giveaways, where if you give away the right stuff in your market, and I know we did a hot seat on this a few weeks ago, where it was like, yeah, you can give away an iPhone, but unless you sell iPhone cases or iPhone covers, that probably doesn't make sense. Like, that will appeal to a lot of people. But if I'm selling water bottles, giving away an iPhone probably doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense.
Right? Giving away water purification for your house might, because it's people who are interested in the quality of the water. And so then I can talk to them about how my water bottles, my glass water bottles, are better for them than the cheap plastic ones, right? Which leach and add all the crap back in that they just took out with their cool new water filter. Like, that's the kind of level you have to think through. And so if you give away something that's targeted at your audience, that's a great way to start. But then the second half of that, Scott, is just sharing good stuff, right? Like, you don't have to create this content in a lot of the cases. If you share other stuff that's worked well for other people, one, they get the attribution, but two, if people see that coming from your page, every time one of those posts does well, whether it's Instagram, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Twitter, whether it's Pinterest, you're going to get some credit for that. You're going to get some additional followers and some fans. So then the next time you share something of your own, it gets even more leverage. And that's exactly what we're seeing in this brand.
And I would say this, if you're feeling like you don't know what to put out, it's kind of like it is going to require work. And if you're not up for that amount of work, then my next suggestion would be go out and find people that have a following already and ask them if they will share stuff for you in exchange for free product, in exchange for money, in exchange for whatever, then just borrow their audience. Like, that's like another way. The reason why we want to build our own and we want to control our own content and all that stuff is because we want to control it. We want to build something that we always can have and use, and we can also just tap into that audience and kind of get feedback and really just understand what they want next. So to us, that's what it's all about, and we're building that moving forward. I want to say something though before we do wrap up. I was on the other day with Joe Valley, who actually works for a brokerage company that actually, we were talking about like businesses that are just selling on Amazon. And then we're talking about businesses that are selling on Amazon, also with some external sales, but also external email lists, external social platforms. Like, those are getting 3 to 5 times, sometimes even more, because they're not dependent on just the one asset. So I just want people to know, like, when you're doing this, you're doing it for the long term, and you're also building out a bigger footprint. It's not just Amazon. And, it was funny because he was asking me, he's like, do you recommend people build their business only on Amazon? I said, absolutely not. Like, but
that's where you start.
That's where it's a launch pad. Like, just think about it. It's a launch pad to launch your products and instantly get the feedback you need and to start to see if you can build some momentum. So it's like, I would start there versus the other way around. Let me build an audience. Let me build all this stuff, and then let me put a product in front of them. Like, I wouldn't do it that way. That's the way I used to do it. But now what I would do is just take a product that I think they're going to like, put it on Amazon, and then start building it around that product and start bringing in content that can support that product or other products that are similar. Kind of like the fishing space. If I want to go into that space, I might not just go out there and build an audience around it, but I may go out and say, I think that these lures are really selling well. So now what do? You go out, you test it immediately on Amazon. You say, oh, wow, I'm getting 10 sales a day. How can I ramp this up to 20 sales a day or 30 sales a day? Or how can I sell on my own website? I can build my own list, my own audience, and now I can go ahead and either control that traffic and drive it to Amazon, or I can drive it to my own website, right? And now I can also ask them, what other things do they want? So that's the way I would do it. I would work backwards that way versus starting the other.
And that's why we talk about it, right? Because you're bringing in cash to finance doing that other stuff, right? We said we spent, I think it was right around $900 to do this giveaway, right? Mm-hmm. And we could have spent $900 out of our pocket, or we could sell some products on Amazon, and like, this is not new money for us that we're investing. This came out of Amazon sales. We're then using that to continue to build the list, right? So it's one of those things where we can now focus on doing stuff outside of Amazon in this brand. And if there's some money that goes along with it, like building a really nice quality website, we were talking about what platform we're going to use for e-commerce and all of those kinds of things, that has a time and a money expense to it. And if we can bankroll that by using Amazon to get us a big chunk of sales up front, there's nothing wrong with that. And oh, by the way, Amazon accounts for like half of all online sales. So why fight it? Go with it, and then worry about doing the other stuff. And I think it's funny, Scott, we talk about email lists and social, and it's not just people selling on Amazon that have that problem. And Joe Valley was telling me this when we were in North Carolina. He said a lot of the businesses that come through there, even on the e-commerce side, struggle with that. And that is terrifying to me, because if you're doing it yourself and you're struggling with that, that's when you run into a big issue. So if you can get that financed by something like Amazon and then make the mistakes and figure it out, then you're not scrambling to do it. You're doing it in a much more intelligent way. So I love Amazon as a launch platform.
Well, and think about this. You get instant gratification. It's like losing the 5 pounds in a week, right? It's like once you launch, like if you started exercising and immediately you dropped a pound or two, you'd be like, oh, okay, this is starting to work. But if you were doing it for a month and you still haven't dropped a pound, you're getting discouraged. So for us, we can launch something, get instant gratification in a sense, to where we can say, okay, cool, I just earned a dollar. I can see how this thing works, versus you building everything and figuring out the website and figuring out the merchant. How am I going to collect money? And then adding all of these different expenses to it that's going to cost you before you even make a sale. With Amazon, really, we're talking about, yes, you're buying a little bit of product, but you're putting it up there, do a test order. You're listing on their platform. You're using their hosting. You're using their merchant account. They're using their customer service, their fulfillment to test. So to me, that's why. And like I was telling Joe the other day, I'm like, if you were asking me this question 5 or 7 years ago, I probably would have a different answer for you, because it wouldn't have been the same for me. There would have been other things that I would have said would have been a way for you to kind of get started. But anyway,
so let's get ready to wrap this up. I had one last one that I wanted to answer, and it was from Carl. That I've got 10 products with 7 fabrics and 6 different colors and 5 sizes. It creates a whole bunch of variations. Any advice on listing setup? Carl, I would use the color size variation and I would probably do all the colors and all the sizes as variations, and then have each of the fabrics be the main listing. Does that make sense, Scott? So it's denim with all of the colors and sizes, cotton with all of the colors and sizes. So that would be the thing that you pull out, because unless it's something has changed in the last few months, Amazon's biggest variations are 2-factor. So color and size is normally what you'll see in most categories. For something like that. So I would break out the fabric type and then do color and size as the variations under each of those.
Cool. All right. Yeah. So let's wrap this up. This is my message today for anyone that is thinking to themselves, either I'm nervous to launch because I'm not sure if it's going to work, or I've launched and my sales are slow. Understand this. In most cases, it is not the first product that's going to be the home run, or even maybe the base hit, right? But you have to understand that if you buy right, you can definitely liquidate, so you can kind of get out from under it and start again and reset. But I can guarantee this, that you will learn through that process. And I'll also guarantee this, that as you do this and you make those adjustments, you're going to be smarter because of it. And you're going to learn what to do, what not to do, whether you maybe get into a market and you're like, I don't really want to get into that market. Like, understand that if you at least do something, you have a much greater chance of receiving a result. But it's so many people that they sit on the sidelines and they're just like, I don't really want to get in the game because, I might get hurt. I might get hurt if I get in. I might twist that ankle. I might hurt my knee. Whatever, right? Like, so you're afraid to get in there because you're afraid to get hurt. And I get it. But again, can't you get hurt if you're just working for someone and they decide to go out of business? Won't that hurt too? Like, so you got to ask yourself, Like if you have not gotten started for whatever reason, or you're started and you're frustrated and you're wondering if this is the right thing for you, you need to ask yourself, what if I stay right where I am right now and I do not do anything? Where are you going to be? And in some people are just, they're comfortable. Chris, I mean, it's kind of like, the bills are being paid and we're scraping by, and, I would love that to happen, but I'm really not, like, my feet aren't to the fire. So, those are some things you got to ask yourself. And I just wanted to kind of illustrate that this week, that when I was standing there in a warehouse that had 3,000 units that's going to turn into $30,000 profit, I thought to myself, if we never launched this SKU, I wouldn't be standing here right now. I wouldn't have these boxes surrounding me. And the last thing I'll say on that too, because I know people are asking, like, Scott, why do you guys ship directly to a warehouse? Why didn't you ship them directly in? Well, there's two reasons. The first reason is because we number one, we had a C order, that this was one of our first by C orders for this brand. So we were a little nervous on that. The other reason is, and we had a few issues with the product. And then the second reason is because even though we think we're going to sell those 3,000 units, I'm pretty confident, I would almost bet on it, but we also didn't want to get hurt with storage fees. So for us, it's cheaper to keep that into a warehouse that we're paying $100 a month for. And if that thing sat there for 3 months, it wouldn't really matter, right? It's pennies per unit, versus if it's an Amazon, especially in fourth quarter, you can get hit with some pretty massive charges.
Which, by the way, everybody got their October bill this week. And I know a lot of people were like, why? What? Mm-hmm. What is going on?
Yeah.
And it's the fourth quarter storage fees are substantially higher. And so we hedged against that because we knew we were bringing in a lot of inventory.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of throw that out there. A lot of stuff happening. I mean, we could go on for, 5 more episodes talking about all of the obstacles that we've encountered, and our partner, who, I mean, God bless them, because I mean, they're tough. They're not willing to give up, and they're willing to put in the work. And, we're pretty lucky, with that, because, it does get frustrating at times. You are going to get frustrated. You are going to feel like, this isn't working or whatever. And I get it, but that's business. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've sat down with my wife when we were doing our photography business saying, like, why do we have to keep going through this where we're busy and then we're slow? We're busy and then we're slow. Or even in my father's business, when I was working construction, we would always panic when it got towards the winter months, because the winter months was our slow months. How are we going to keep everybody on? We might have to lay people off. Like, there's issues in anything that you do. It's depending on what you want those to be for you. And what comes with that for me is the freedom to be able to get off of here and then just say, I'm punching out, I'm going whatever. I'm going to go for a ride. I'm going to go to an event. I'm going to go whatever I want to do. I can do, as long as I build that into the schedule. So that's why, I do what I do. And I know, Chris, you do what you do. And it's for those reasons. And I want to be able to help anyone out there that's thinking to themselves that they can't do it. I want to be the one that says, no, you can do it. It's totally there. You just have to make the commitment here that you're going to do it. And then just, fight through it and get into the game. Hey, if you get a sprained ankle, you got to put ice on it. That's all. Yes. Sherman. Yeah. I think he's out for the year, right?
Then you have to sit down.
And then you sit down.
Sitting down. We do a lot of this standing up, but you can do this sitting down.
Yeah, he's still getting paid too, by the way, for sitting out, and he's got great seats.
He's never missed a game, though.
Apparently. That's true. That's true.
Yeah. Well, next
pretty impressive. It's pretty impressive. All right, cool. Let's wrap this up. A couple reminders. If you guys wanted to jump in on one of our on-demand workshops where we go through the 5 phases that we walk through exactly what we do when launching a product and actually picking the product and all that stuff, go to theamazingseller.com/workshop now, and that will be there for you. And then the other thing is, Chris, we probably should remind people of the workshop for building that list. That can be found at theamazingseller.com/build list, and that will help you get started in building that list. And it's exactly to a T what we just did for our recent giveaway. We did it for 30 days. We built a list of just under 6,000 for just under I think $900 or $1,000 with the prize and all that stuff. So all that stuff's there for you guys. And the other thing is, if you guys are listening to the podcast on iTunes, do me a favor and subscribe, so that way there you do not miss an episode. And we're cranking right along. We got a lot of cool things planned, up over 400 episodes, which is always fun. And I'm super excited to see where we go here in 2018. A lot of cool things planned. Yeah, super excited to share everything with you guys. So, Chris, you got anything you want to wrap up with?
Well, I do want to wrap up with something. If you're not an iTunes user, if you're not an Apple person, you can subscribe inside the Google Play Store for podcasts.
It's true.
Or on Stitcher or whatever your favorite podcast app is. I know there's a lot of different ones on the Android side, but the Google Play one gives you a lot of really cool updates. And the Amazing Seller feed is live in there as well. Cool.
Awesome. Yeah, I don't want to forget about those Android people. Which actually this week we had a hiccup with the iPhone video because we were recording some video on that. We imported it and we had problems because I didn't have the updated. It was a mess.
Well, so, we had another issue this week where you couldn't type an I in the version of the operating system. It came through as an @ symbol.
Nice.
Every time. So, if they tried to type in iPhone, it came out as @phone. And
nice. That's always fun.
Yeah, it's a feature.
Yeah. All right, cool. Let's wrap it up. Oh, one last thing, Chris. I'm gonna throw a little teaser out here. Monday's episode, I am actually announcing something that we are going to be doing. We're going to be giving away 2 scholarships to the private label classroom, which is going to be pretty awesome. So check out the details. That's going to be announced on Monday's episode, and we are. I'll be emailing you guys about that, and this is going to happen over the next 3 to 4 weeks, and you guys can all participate, and I think you guys should. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So look for that. All right, so Chris, I think that's going to wrap it up. Let's wrap this up officially. And guys, if you have any questions, you can always email us questions@theamazingseller.com. And we'll do our best to get those answered for you. And yeah, just tune into the podcast, tune into these lives, and go check out that workshop. And we'll see you guys around. Have an awesome weekend. All right, take care. And as always,